Good morning, everybody. This is Beau Dotson. We've got a significant winter storm moving into the region. We can see it on our radars. Snow just spreading across Missouri, Illinois, Kentucky, Tennessee, Arkansas. This is a huge storm system. As a matter of fact, this is the most counties ever under a winter storm warning at once. So there's some historical aspects to this. The snowfall totals in most areas probably won't be historic, but the storm will probably land in one of the top five or so winter storms to impact our region. So it is a big one, and it's going to have a lot of impacts over a very large area. We do have winter storm warnings across every single county in our local area. And that doesn't happen very often. We are expecting major travel impacts. As a matter of fact, during the peak of this storm, would not surprise me if we see some major road closures. Even the interstate could close if someone has a wreck and the cars back up and the snow's falling heavily. That's how you close a road because the plows can't keep the snow off the road fast enough. And that's a big concern. The size of this winter storm, maybe it will limit the number of people trying to drive through the region. I hope so. We've got high confidence that this storm is going to produce a widespread 5 to 10 inches of rain, I wish, but 5 to 10 inches of snow across our region. Now, sleet will mix in probably Paducah to Murray, southward, LBL area. We're thinking some sleet will mix in, and sleet really does lower the final snow total. So you could in those areas end up with, let's say, 3 to 6 inches of snow and then maybe 1 to 3 inches of sleet. We'll just have to see where that sleet line lines up. Could end up in Massac County, could end up near Vienna, maybe a little south of Paducah. But we're talking like 25, 30 miles, and we're trying to thread a needle here on the exact track of the low and the heavier precipitation. So be patient with forecasters. And this is why I keep telling everybody, let's not focus on the totals. They will be substantial in some areas. Focus on impacts. It's going to be the same. Every county is going to have hazardous road conditions, bitterly cold temperatures. Over the next 5 to 7 days, we may stay below freezing most of that time, if not all of that time. Widespread school closures next week. Some of the kids won't go back to school this entire week and maybe some into the following week. We'll just have to see if we can get temperatures above freezing, but those side roads are not going to be well traveled. They're going to have more snow and sleet on them. And sleet also takes longer to melt. So if we have a big sleet storm in some areas, that will just linger longer on the roads. And with temperatures below zero on some nights over the coming days, it's going to make it difficult for that brine and other chemicals to work. So, bottom line, big winter storm moving the region, widespread precipitation today, Saturday, maybe a lull this afternoon and evening for 2, 3, 4 hours, and then more precipitation moves in tonight. And that will probably be the peak of the storm tonight into Sunday morning. And that's when travel conditions will go downhill. And as the National Weather Service said, travel may become impossible in some areas. We look at the highest snow totals, probably from Poplar Bluff, Missouri to Cape Girardeau, Marion, Illinois, Evansville, Owensboro. That's where you could get 6 to 12 inches or more. And then you go from Poplar Bluff, New Madrid, LBL, Paducah, Metropolis, Madisonville, Hopkinsville. A lot of sleet and some snow. You could end up with 3 to 6 inches of snow. You could end up with 1 to 3 inches of sleet. Bottom line, the impact's going to be the same. Icy roads, bitter cold. As far as freezing rain, the bulk of that, I'm not saying we can't have a little freezing rain, but not enough to bring down power lines. But most of that will stay down in Tennessee, maybe south of Murray, south of Hopkinsville. We'll keep an eye on it. It could shift a little. Like, for example, LBL could have a few hours where it's freezing rain, but we don't expect enough freezing rain locally to bring down power lines or limbs. I'll keep an eye on it. Freezing rain is rain that falls and then freezes on contact. That's what causes damage, like 2009. That's what causes damage to trees and power lines. Sleet are little ice pellets. They just bounce off everything. They don't hurt power lines or trees. So that's the difference. And what causes freezing rain, sleet, and snow will depend on what's happening a few hundred to a few thousand feet above us. A warm nose of air melts the snowflakes, and then snowflakes, once melted, they can't become snowflakes again. So they turn into freezing rain or sleet, depending on how the depth of that cold layer at the surface. Okay, so I expect major impacts across our entire region: Massac, McCracken, West Kentucky, LBL, all the way to Mount Vernon, all the way to Poplar Bluff, the entire state of Kentucky, most of Tennessee, most of Missouri, a lot of Illinois, a lot of Indiana. You're going to have major impacts from this storm, and that could include uh, isolated power outages if somebody hits a pole, a wreck, or there is a tremendous amount of electricity being used by the country right now. And with temperatures going down in the single digits and below zero over the coming days, I can't rule out some problems because of the overload on the system. And this system is so big, we may not be able to borrow power from other areas because everyone's going to be dealing with this, and that's going to put a strain on the system. Now, the electric companies do a super job of keeping the power on, even during big heat waves, even during big cold snaps. So we have faith in them, but can't rule out some isolated problems. Keep that in mind. Again, on the snowfall totals, a widespread 6 to 12 inches, 5 to 10 inches. We're splitting hairs here. Sleet, if you end up with more sleet, that kills snow totals, so it reduces your snow totals. I think everyone has some snow from this. The question is who's going to have the most snow from this and who's going to have the most sleet from this. But either way, this is a big storm system, and the impacts will be the same whether you get sleet, snow, all sleet, doesn't matter. The impacts will be the same. Hazardous road conditions, icy road conditions, a prolonged period of time with hazardous driving conditions. Some roads could close, including interstates at times. And bitterly cold temperatures will make it harsh on first responders. The National Weather Service, local officials, we've got states of emergencies in many areas, are telling you if you do not have to travel, do not travel. Stay home. Let the first responders do their job. If there's house fires, if there's wrecks, let doctors and nurses get to work. Some of you have to go to work. I get that. Let's keep all of them in our prayers because some harsh days ahead. Some people are going to have to spend the night at their workplace. It's a widespread storm. Let's also remember the bitterly cold air. I don't want that to be lost in this. We're talking many, many hours below freezing. It may not be a record number of hours below freezing, but it's going to be a lot, and probably the top 5 number of hours below freezing. 1978 or 1979, I think, for example, Paducah had over 300 hours below freezing. It'd be hard to beat that. We also have a reinforcing shot of Arctic air on Wednesday, and that will knock temperatures down again towards the end of the week. So this is a real mess, and frostbite weather, if the kids go out, be sure and protect them from frostbite. It would take about 15 minutes in the bitterly cold temperatures, especially with a little wind. Wind chills could be 10 to 20 below at times. Bitterly, bitterly cold air for our region. We also don't want people having wrecks because then the first responders have to put themselves at risk for frostbite or trying to get out on icy roads. So stay home, give it a few days, let the crews do their job, and clean everything up. Don't forget, don't use extension cords with space heaters. My fireman friends tell me that's the number. There's already been some fires. That's the number one reason for fires during cold weather. Improper use of heating sources, and space heaters is a big one, especially with extension cords. So tell your adult children this because they may not know. Never use extension cords with space heaters. We've got a high probability of heavy snow across the region. Snow, sleet, heavy snow, heavy sleet. Could even be some lightning with it. That's called thunder snow or thunder sleet. It happens. I've seen it about 10 times in my lifetime. During heavy sleet storms, I've found that there tend to be a little more lightning. So we'll see. Maybe somebody reports lightning and thunder. We'll see how that goes. As far as the snowfall character, we're looking at drier snow north, like Mount Vernon, kind of in the middle of Marion, Cape Girardeau, Paducah, Madisonville, Owensboro. Of course, the sleet will, change that too. And then a heavy or wet snow, New Madrid, Poplar Bluff, Murray, Hopkinsville, parts of LBL. Uh, don't forget that the weight of sleet is more than snow, and we call this heart attack weather. People get out there and try to shovel it, and the amount of weight puts stress on the body. And every big winter storm, we have people that have heart attacks because of it. So just, this is a big winter storm. I'm telling you all the risk with it because that's my job. We just want to keep everybody safe at the end of the day. We don't want to scare anybody, of course, but we want to keep them safe. Also, keep kids off ice covered lakes and ponds. That's going to happen over the coming days. Everything's going to ice over, but it probably won't be enough to get out on. Maybe eventually it will be, but for safety reasons, let's try to keep the kids off of area ponds and lakes. This would be the coldest weather for some kids of their lifetime so far. This would be the most snow and sleet some of them have ever seen. Maybe they've never seen frozen ponds and they'll want to get out there on them. So again, the wind chill aspect of this, we will have some 10 to 20, 30 mile per hour winds over the coming days. At times, the wind chill could go 10 to 15 degrees below zero, maybe 20 degrees below zero. And again, that's frostbite weather. If you absolutely must travel, make sure someone knows where you're at. Make sure your cell phone is charged. Make sure your vehicle has been winterized. Make sure you can scrape snow off the top of your car, the windows of the car. And always share your travel plans with family so they know you're going from point A to B. And then don't forget your emergency kit, a blanket, a phone charger for your vehicle, things like that, some water. Have a plan, in other words. If you got to go somewhere, we don't recommend you traveling, but if you got to go somewhere or you're a first responder or a nurse or doctor, you have to get out, make sure somebody knows. Call them up and say, hey, I'm leaving for work now. I'm going to be there in about 20 minutes. If I don't show up, then there's probably been a problem. And again, on the house fires, I just keep reiterating, don't use extension cords. Keep those space heaters about 3 feet away from everything else. Make sure your pets can't knock them over. I had somebody tell me last night a cat knocked theirs over and they had a fire in their house. So let's keep everybody safe. We'll get through this. Don't forget to dress in layers. The kids dress in layers. They're going to want to play in the snow. Gloves, mittens, hats, scarves, a heavy coat, multiple layers, good socks for their feet, and proper shoes. Because this is the kind of weather where people get frostbite. If you're out there measuring the snow, usually in the backyard, take 3 or 4 measurements. Don't measure drifts. And then average those out, especially where there's drifting. Average those 3 or 4 measurements out and then send in your report so the National Weather Service has those. Okay, so the winter storm is underway. There could be a lull later. Don't be fooled if the precipitation ends for a little bit. And then the primary winter storm arrives tonight into Sunday. We did extend it into Sunday afternoon now. Snow may linger a little longer. Hasn't changed the amounts really, but it could linger a little longer. Okay, so that's the update. That's the forecast. That's a long update, going on about 14 minutes here, but I tried to cover everything because I know everyone has questions. But that's the way we're looking. Stay safe out there. Stay warm. We'll hope we don't have any power outages. But if we do, plan on that as well. You should have wrapped up all your preparations by now. Okay, everyone stay safe. Everyone stay warm. And we'll get through this. Eventually it will melt. It always does. And spring isn't far away.